You dumbass little toddler. Woke up looking for the broccoli. Ownership, the blueprint is by me. Mr. Get off, I'm off.
The Supreme Court, this 6-3 conservative Supreme Court, and a court that is so extreme we've never seen a court this far right in our lifetimes, ruled 9-0 unanimously that he had to be sent back. So to claim that no one is getting caught up in this system when that is exactly what's happening and it's being litigated at the highest levels of the judiciary is pretty bad faith here. That was me and Tomi Lahren.
Remember when Tomi Lahren had like that one opinion? She had her own opinion like one time about like abortion. She had her own opinion once, and conservatives canceled her for having her own opinion. That was crazy. That was crazy, dude. Her job is to sit there and look shitty, you know? Sit there and look shitty. I get that anger. Wow, nice. My Q&A person is gonna ask me questions. So nice of him. So nice of him. Dead YouTube channel, brother. Hi.
Hey, what's up, Jolah? How's it going?
It's going all right. A lot of things going on. How about you?
It's going all right. It's going all right. So,
yeah, what's my Q&A for today?
there's a lot, dude. I've been thinking about. Been trying to get on here for a minute. So what do you think about Trump and all these like him basically like pumping and dumping the market like the way he did? Do you think he did that to his advantage? You
Yeah,
know?
100%. I mean, with the crypto coin too, he is getting more personal gain monetarily, and like in any way. He is the most corrupt president in American history. And any person who talks about Nancy Pelosi but doesn't talk about him, because I talk about Pelosi trading weird, trades every now and then. I talk about different politicians who I have a problem with on both sides. But if you say you're against corruption or stock trading, and you don't call out Trump for being the most corrupt president in American history blatantly, then I don't really think you can have a real opinion on this stuff, you know?
Do you think CNBC says CBP says latest tariffs have generated 500 million, well below Trump's estimate? Do you think any of this is gonna help anything at all? Like especially for the low class, I don't see anything of this helping us. I feel like it helped everyone else, but like any low class people.
No, just like everything Trump does, this is emotional based. He acts off emotion. He is everything that people claim a female president would be or a woman president would be. He wants tariffs because he can be a control freak with them and demand concessions, and he wants people to beg for exemptions. You're like, I want exemptions from the tariff, Mr. Trump. I'll give you a couple $1 million, like all these big tech bros did, all the tech oligarchs, the robber barons, whatever you want to say for them. But yeah, the tariffs, there is no one on any side of the political aisle, except if you are a follower of Trump and you think Trump is literally adjacent to God or God himself, or God is working through Trump. No conservative economist, no liberal, no one thinks these tariffs are a good idea. Even people that are pro tariffs know these tariffs are, number one, terrible, because they hurt American manufacturing. They are the biggest tax increase on working class Americans in probably American history, especially done just by the president's actions, because taxation, that power is delegated from Congress. That should be done by Congress, not from a president wanting to just do whatever. We escaped a king to start this country because that king was levying tariffs against us, because that king was shipping us off to other colonies or countries to be in camps and prisons. Because that person was violating our due process. We escaped a king, and we took the power of taxation away from the king because he would use it to have overbearing power. So the tariffs are just a way for Trump to be a control freak, for him to, lead people around and get people to beg for concessions, beg for all that kind of stuff. And yeah, there's zero economic benefit at all from the tariffs whatsoever.
And people are saying we've never been so red. Like we haven't seen any like real Republicans. Do you think they're just that's true that everyone somehow believed in the Republicans, or do you think just that the Republicans like went for really like a younger crowd and that's why they won this year? Like, I feel like because I feel that that's what happened. Like they went for a really younger crowd. They went for a crowd that didn't know what they're voting for. That they just said, vote, but they don't know what for what, right? You think
Yeah, I
that's true?
mean, all politicians say things that are either, I don't know, misleading, or they send a message through different ways, and they have different strategies for it. And always want to preface with Democrats are not perfect, of course, but Republicans will lie about everything. They will lie about anything. They will be manipulated. They will be manipulative. They will say anything. They are narcissists. They are insane. They are sociopaths. They will say, like, look at JD Vance. He will say anything. He'll do anything for political power. He'll be on his knees, begging with his mouth, talking, of course, begging for support from any donors, from any political, like, anyone with power. JD Vance will be doing anything to get power. These Republicans lie about Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security. Look at Elon Musk lying about Doge. They lied about immigration largely. Immigrants being violent. They lie about that. Or at least immigrants being a special kind of violent, when immigrants are less violent than naturally born Americans. Yeah, I mean, they lied. They manipulated people. They took advantage of individuals who don't have enough time to look into politics very deep. I mean, look at right now with this El Salvador situation. Like, they're hiding the Epstein files. I said this before. They're hiding the Epstein files, and they're hiding Epstein's files, and they're lying about this Kilmar Abrego Garcia guy. And all these other innocent people that were sent to this torture camp in El Salvador. This is a concentration camp. It is literally a concentration camp. And they're willing to lie about it because Trump is popular and they want power and they are corrupt. And they know that Trump is taking a big battering ram to our institutions. And that's not a good thing because those institutions are anti-corruption. There's not, it's not 100% good. It might be 80% good or 70% good or 60% good. But the institutions Trump is killing are institutions that protect the American people from tyranny. And yeah, he's violating Supreme Court orders. So if he's going to violate every single court order, if Congress is not going to impeach or do something else to hold him accountable or take their power back, the only way to beat him is with overwhelming public angst against him. And yeah, it's a whole thing about why they're supporting him still. It is a cult, though. It is literally a cult.
Could you say this is the worst presidency ever? That's Bush.
No, I mean, there's better. I mean, if you want to say worst presidency after, actually, I don't know. I don't know enough about history, but it's hard to find. It's really like Herbert Hoover is the only thing you can think about. But like then you look at Trump and his policies right now are like we know so much more about the world right now, and we're doing things that are proven to be wrong. Like RFK is saying that autism causes, vaccines cause autism. We need to destroy all the evidence that the higher autism rates are just because we track it better now and we research it more. We need to destroy all basic fact about climate change or science or the environment, or how the economy works. If you don't, they're thought policing people right now. You could write an op-ed that's even minor, that has minor criticism of Israel or America, and they're deporting or they're revoking visas and green cards. But yeah, they're thought policing. They're doing all this authoritarian stuff. They're just fully authoritarian guys. It's crazy. It's
Do you
crazy.
think
Crazy
we're
time.
more American now, or do you think we're more far away from that we've ever been?
We're probably more far away from what America should be since probably post Reconstruction, after slavery, after Civil War. When it comes to our norms and everything, we're definitely actually no. I'll revise that. We are less American now than we were before, when we were still lynching and hanging black people commonly. Probably like when we go back, we're back in the '60s. McCarthyism came around then, the Red Scare with communism and saying people are communists, and I'm pretty sure we deported immigrants and all that kind of stuff, claiming they're communists in like the 50s, 60s, and 70s too. So yeah, we're back to like civil rights era type movement. We need that same type of protest to reverse what's happening right now. But I've said this before, even with the how the FBI would kill people who are prominent political activists, and stuff like that. That's how they're targeting people again now. And I would not be surprised if Cash Patel and whoever, we know Doge is spying on people, infiltrating our government networks. Yeah, well, let's just say we're the least American we've been since since pre-civil rights movement.
Don't you think it's a weird political move from going being really friendly with other countries and going to an era that now we aren't friendly at all with them. And now somehow we've gone to like communist countries.
Yeah,
Don't you
we
think it's
love
weird, or do you?
Russia, right? We love El Salvador. We love these authoritarian countries, and now we're trying to convince Europe. We're trying to pressure Europe to abandon Ukraine. America is getting mad. Trump and his administration is getting mad that Europe is supporting Ukraine. And they've lied about everything, like, oh, Europe needs to pick up their own weight and support Ukraine. We don't want to give them money. And then Ukraine offered to give money to buy weapons. We're like, no, we don't want to give you weapons. Trump lied about Zelensky being a dictator. He refuses to criticize Putin at all. He blamed Ukraine. He said about Ukraine, oh, they should never have taken on a country that's 20 times their size. Steve Witkoff, the Russia ambassador, is completely corrupted. And they want to be friends with these countries because, if you cut out your trade deals, if you cut out your immigration, it's much easier to have an authoritarian government. They want systems closer to Hungary or Russia or El Salvador in America. JD Vance and Elon Musk view us as animals. They view us as mutts that should be controlled by, and Peter Thiel, we should be controlled by these big billionaires because the billionaires have been dictated by natural law that they are better than us by every measurable characteristic. And now they're going to lead society to a better era because us plebs, we can't do anything. We are too stupid. We are peasants, as JD Vance called Chinese working people. We are peasants to them. But yeah, the whole thing about being anti-Ukraine, we want Trump wants Ukraine to die. The only reason he doesn't say that and do that is because he knows it would be politically disastrous. And again, that just reinforces the idea that the only thing that matters right now is public influence. We are in a post-constitutional moment. There are no checks and balances. Yeah, it's really fun that we're fighting free countries.
How
Yeah.
close do you think we've ever been to being a third world country now instead of being the great country that we were once before?
See, that's the hard part is we're like MAGA is a third world political movement. You usually see this with like warlords in Africa or like dictators in Central or South America. We are a third world country in terms of our priorities. If we prioritize, our priorities are kind of, Trump said he wants to bring back like 1-day trials to execute people and give them the death penalty. The only countries that execute people at all, let alone with like a day trial, are third world countries. Like the only countries that agree with us on the death penalty are third world countries. So now Trump wants to speed that up even more and just kill people who the government claims are criminals. And when Trump says like they want to go after homegrown people next, they're deporting innocent people, kidnapping them and sending them to a concentration camp in El Salvador. When Trump says he wants to kidnap homegrown people next in America, he's using the word homegrown because, and this is the key to every dictator and authoritarian government, they call things terrorism. Think about Bush post 9/11. Call everything terrorism, use it to overexpand governmental power and authoritarianism. They're saying homegrown specifically because they want to say homegrown terrorism. And they're going to claim, just like they are right now, that if they go after homegrown terrorists who are against America's foreign affairs priorities, then it's a foreign affairs issue. It's a foreign policy issue, and therefore the president can do whatever he wants with it. So they're setting the stage for really far breaches of rights.
What would you tell? What would you tell the people that keep saying that the immigrants are the problem here in America? Do you think that's true? Honestly,
I think I'm hopeful that many Americans are not terrible people. I hope some of the Christians I know are truly tied to their faith enough to reject what J.D. Vance and Charlie Kirk and what all these people are saying about immigrants. We know that immigrants have a lower crime rate than naturally born Americans. There's a reason with the huge immigration surge. There's not, we can look at where the hot points are in America that added the most immigrants. There was no increase in crime rate. You cannot find an increase in crime rate of vandalism in these areas where immigrants came because they are escaping dictatorships. They have been through more in their lives than 50 million Americans experienced their entire lifetimes. They're escaping dictatorships. They've been tortured. They made it to America. They want to be in a free country. They are happy to be here. If you come here as a kid, even if you come in illegally or if you come in seeking asylum, You fight through all these different levels of adversity. You come here, work your ass off. That's the exact kind of person I want in America. And I know Americans agree with that. In the polling, if you say we need mass deportations, they believe the framework that Trump says, like, oh, look at these violent criminals, get the scary ones out of here. But whenever you add a caveat, so like, for example, if someone came into America illegally, but they've been living here, working here with no criminal record, and they have a kid and a family and they're members of your community, should we deport them? Americans overwhelmingly say no, do not deport that person. Do not use my taxpayer dollars to remove a member of our community. So I'm hoping Americans cannot be soulless sociopaths, and I'm pretty confident. I'm optimistically confident that they will go the right direction.
That's interesting. And so far, I mean, even if it hasn't been 100 days, what do you think about this presidency, and where do you think it's headed in this 4-year term?
Well, now if you're from a free
start.
country, people coming from free countries, ambassadors and whoever else, they are now coming with burner phones. Usually you bring burner phones to authoritarian countries where you think you're going to be tapped and spied on. So now if Europe sends their officials, they have burners on them, just like you would if you went to Russia or China. That's not a good sign. It's not a good sign that tourism's decreasing by 30 or 40% because ICE is abusing anyone that comes through customs or anyone that comes through an airport anywhere. They want to beat them up and detain them and abuse their power. ICE right now is off their leash. ICE needs a damn leash. They need some type of leash. They need a mechanism to hold them accountable for what they're doing. They need to ban having their masks on for these endeavors, unless if it's approved to have masks on for special operations. If you're going after a gang or whatever else, or like that's the only time you should need that. But they're going after college kids right now who have done nothing their entire lives to evoke that kind of response. ICE needs a damn leash. ICE literally is the current Gestapo, and I don't say that lightly because I would laugh at the far lefties and socialists and communists or whoever that would say the Gestapo and ICE are very similar because they don't have, they don't have checks on their power. They do just go and they enjoy abusing their power. And they're literally telling people they detain right now, I'm just following orders. It's not me. I'm not a monster. They're saying out loud, I'm not a monster. I'm just following orders. So it's whatever. ICE needs a leash.
You think throughout the years anything's gonna get better, like economically? I mean, with the market being this way, and so many people having a huge loss in their 401ks, you think people are gonna recover? I mean, it doesn't. People they keep saying that this, wave of tariffs and everything really made a disaster in the market, but so far it's not what I see, and it's not what a lot of people are feeling, but they keep saying that. So, I mean, what is it?
Even like every depression or recession has warning signs. You could look at oil prices, you could look at consumer sentiment, you can look at amount of debt versus purchasing power versus we could look at real wages, we could look at investments in general slowing down in America. But these are all predictive. So the market might crash now, and maybe in a couple of weeks we'll see mass layoffs. But it takes a prolonged time where the market crashes because these investors will just pull their money out and wait for the economy to get like to become better. Some people might just say, Trump is crazy. He's an authoritarian. We're just going to wait to hopefully he's pushed out of office or he leaves office. He's not going to leave office willingly in 2028. He's not going to leave office. Whoever's in the office right now, they're going to keep it as long as possible. And I know everyone's like, oh, that's not going to happen, but we probably are going to need some type of military intervention to just secure our free and fair elections and the transfer of power. And yeah, just in general, everyone should probably know, like, Trump is going to try to do the Insurrection Act. It's already written, it's already expressed with all the Project 2025 authors, and Trump's been following all these people. They're going to use the Insurrection Act to go after political opponents, just like it was wrongfully used, how it was wrongfully used before. I don't know when they're going to use it, but they're going to use it. They're going to try to seize voting machines if they lose elections. The full authoritarian crackdown can happen whether the economy is doing good or bad, and it's going to do bad. It's going to do very bad. But their goal is when things fall apart that they are so corrupt and they can extort enough people, enough law firms, enough corporations, enough ultra rich people. They can extort enough politicians to when the market crashes and there is public pushback. They want to have a chilling effect, and that's when they start jailing political prisoners. And anyone that would say that's not going to happen, if I would have said they're going to detain innocent people and send them to a torture camp in El Salvador, a literal concentration camp, this is the American concentration camp. Anyone defending this right now probably would have defended the Nazi Germany rise. So, I don't want to be proven right, but everything we've said so far, I mean, it's not even like we've been proven right. We've been proven wrong in a sense that we said it would not be this bad. No one thought it would be this bad. That's why we see so many conservatives now coming over, even commentators saying like, "What the hell's going on?"
And can you tell us more about the comment on your overlay? It says free Kilmar, Abrego, Garcia. What's that about?
So that's the guy that the White House is currently calling a trafficker, violent MS-13 gang member with zero proof. So he is a father from Maryland. He came here as like a 16-year-old as a minor, escaping gang violence from El Salvador, was working for years and years, just trying to get by. He got arrested for like loitering or something, and he went to a court and he was granted withholding status, which means he could stay in America. He could not be deported to El Salvador if he was deported, and he was given a permit for working. So this person was taken from his family with no due process, shipped to El Salvador torture camps, which he was not supposed to be sent to El Salvador at all, let alone the torture camp. I would say he's probably dead. He's definitely dead. There's no way to think he's alive. Like, there's a reason he wasn't supposed to be in El Salvador. The president of El Salvador is connected to gangs very closely. I know people wouldn't believe that because he's just like a person who owns a nightclub and sexually assaults for a job. But yeah, this person, the Supreme Court ruled the White House had to make an effort to bring them back to facilitate his return to America, go through the proper channels. They ruled 9-0 in this direction. The Trump administration had to show just good faith. They were doing what they could to get him back, and they did not follow a 9-0 Supreme Court order. So Trump officially rejected the Supreme Court, and we'll see in the future what they rule on this topic moving forward. But yeah, it's a really messed up situation, and I mean, this is one of hundreds of innocent people sent to this torture camp in El Salvador, but people are just like accepting, like, oh yeah, well, they probably deserved it. I would probably say because they're brown and they don't speak English as their first language, they have accents. And Americans right now, if you're not American, if you're not white, then the threshold for how much people care on a mass scale is lower. But again, I do think enough Americans are going to care. Hopefully they don't believe the White House and Pam Bondi, the disgusting asshole's lies, because she's too busy lying about him and protecting Jeffrey Epstein to do her actual job, going after violence or whatever. I'm hoping Americans don't believe their lies about this guy or about anyone else. And even if he did do a crime, sending them to a El Salvador torture camp is definitely not that you can't return them from. Just like killing them with no due process is still the biggest violation of our Constitution we've ever seen from our president. I mean, there's other ones like the Trail of Tears and stuff, but this is literally Trail of Tears level. This is the worst of our history happening right now.
That's very understanding, and it's just crazy how these things can happen, and we never imagined them to happen ever. But yeah.
Well,
All right.
you know
Well,
the
thanks,
signs
Joel. I
of
really
anger and
appreciate
hate,
it.
right? I mean, it's hard to really predict it completely, but you see the anger and hate, and Trump's politics operates off of hurting people. He never builds anything. He never built anything his entire life. He's a liar. He's a con man. He's everything they said about him is true. And he manipulates his own followers into believing he's like Jesus Christ himself, and it's disgusting. But yeah, I mean, we never thought it would get this bad, and it's probably not even Trump. Trump's too stupid and brain dead to do anything right now. It's probably Stephen Miller, who's an actual neo-Nazi, Tom Homan, who's literally the Mucinex man, the ideal boss battle in a Wolfenstein game, a mega Nazi. Like, Tom Homan is the final boss in those games. But yeah, thanks for hopping on, asking questions, getting the stream going.
You're right. Trump. If Trump was handed everything to him, so imagine being handed everything to you. I mean, how easy can things be? You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's sad. I mean, it's sad people have the superhero mentality or God mentality of our country when it's supposed to be, it's supposed to not be like this at all. Our founding fathers, if you look at the Declaration of Independence, they wrote about everything Trump is doing. Like, they literally wrote about not doing, like, getting away from what Trump is doing right now. So,
All right. Thank you, Jola.
thank you. Have a good night, man. Make sure you drop a like on the stream. Please consider donating to Jolah Politics on Venmo, Cash App, or PayPal. Really appreciate all the donations. Helps me keep the channel going, even when I get no viewers. Someone else called me, but drop a like on the stream for the algorithm. Thank you for calling. Thank you for liking. Thank you for watching. Oh my god, dude.
Hello.
Hi, this is the YouTube politics guy. What's up?
Oh, hey, man. Well, thanks for calling back. Are you still live?
Yep, I'm still alive. What's up?
Hey, I overheard you talking earlier about the illegal immigrant, or from your perspective, the Maryland resident that was administratively erred, shipped out of the country to El Salvador, and I just wanted to see kind of where you came to your conclusion that that was the wrong decision by the Trump administration to keep him there.
So, he fled his country of origin, fleeing gang violence when he was a minor. He was working in America for a long time. No evidence of any crimes ever. Even in the reports Pam Bondi released, no evidence of any crime. Then you look at, he works a bunch of different jobs here and there. He gets arrested for like loitering in front of a Home Depot in 2019. And in 2019, the judge you go before in this process is actually part of the executive branch. It's Trump's DOJ at this time. So he goes in front of a judge, tells his story and everything. And although he missed the 1-year window for asylum when he came to America, the judge saw his case as reasonable enough to grant him withholding, because there was no evidence of him being a part of a gang, no evidence of a violent crime. He was just working in America and trying to make it work. Like I said, he fled to this country from a violent authoritarian government with a bunch of gangs. Made it to America to work hard, and the judge said under Trump's judge, like directly Trump's judge, said he can stay here because there was no evidence of him doing anything anything wrong. And then I see them pick him up and send him to El Salvador, to a MAGA terror camp, essentially, or torture camp. And that's definitionally like what that is. You need a very high bar, in my opinion, for doing that to someone, especially if they say we sent him there by error. First off, being sent to El Salvador would have been bad for him enough, let alone this camp. I would assume he's dead. And I do not ever want the government using authoritarian power to take any human being, especially someone who's been approved by a court to not be deported and to be able to work here, taking them and shipping them to a max prison camp or death penalty, especially with no due process. And I would say it violates a lot of what this country is founded on too. But yeah, I would love to hear your perspective.
My perspective is that the judiciary interprets the law, right? The executive enforces the law, and it's already been decided in established case law precedent by the Supreme Court that, like, immigration is a part of the executive branch's enumerated power. That's decided. So even if it is an administrative error that this person was sent, and that's wrong, right? And this idea that due process, which is afforded to all persons, is that it's true and accurate. All that's true. It's still already been established by the judiciary he illegally entered the country. And so POTUS can say, all right, he's not allowed back in the country. Like, even if, you know what I'm saying? Even if it's an administrative error, it's still completely legal for Trump to say, all right, don't send them back.
But the key differentiation here is they did not deport him or go through any like official process. They abducted him and transferred him to a torture camp in El Salvador, saying he's a domestic terrorist because they defined these gangs as terrorists, and therefore they labeled him as a terrorist. And they said this terrorist can now be sent to an El Salvador torture camp. So, like, if they wanted to deport him, they could go through those proceedings, and they could find a third country that can be safe for him to go to that is not El Salvador, but it was defined by a law, or the judge ruled in 2019, he could not in any way ever be shipped to El Salvador or deported to El Salvador. But yeah, saying he's a terrorist, shipping him to El Salvador torture camp.
Really
and also
quick.
the Supreme Court ruled 9-0 against Trump for a reason.
Okay, hold on. The Supreme Court did not rule 9-0 against Trump, and I'm gonna tell the Supreme Court remanded that ruling back down to the district court to determine what the word that they were telling the executive agency, the executive administration to do, effectuate, right? Wasn't it effectuate was the word?
because the judiciary doesn't get to send an order. And the Supreme Court knows the judiciary can on any level. And so that district court judge, if his interpretation of the word effectuate is an order for the executive to do an action, then it's a moot point. It'll go right back up to SCOTUS, and they're going to say it's unconstitutional. Because the only thing they can do is interpret.
The facilitation part is big. They did say facilitate because you can't command them to send in SEAL Team 6 or whatever to go get someone. But all the Trump administration really had to do, to be honest, was give a good effort. So, like, for example, say to El Salvador, can you please return this person? They could have even done a propaganda mission and been like, oh, well, we tried our hardest, and El Salvador said no. But they had to prove to the judge at that point, because the Supreme Court did reinforce the judge's decision and send it back to them to clarify. But the judge said, give me updates on what you're doing every day. The DOJ essentially said, screw you, we're not giving any updates either. So they could have done updates. They could have hit it, but they're openly just saying, we were right. This person is a terrorist. He deserves to be there.
My point is a legal argument, right? I think you're getting into, I think, pseudo morality.
I am saying no. I literally just told you what the Supreme Court ruled. That's why they sent it back to the. They clarified and sent it back to the court. That's why they ruled 9-0 to send it back down. They had no issues with the ruling because it's basic due process, and they voted 9-0, saying that the Trump administration is violating due process constitutionally. They voted that before a few days ago, before they made this ruling.
Okay, the Supreme Court ruling. Here's the thing, dude. The Supreme Court only interprets. They can say that the order is valid, but that has been remanded back down to the district court for them to interpret what the word effectuate means. It's an invalid order until that determination's been made. That's what a remandment is. Like, so you're like, yeah, you're right. Like, Supreme Court did rule that district judge did have a valid ruling, but until he interprets what effectuate means, then it's not, what do you want the administration to do? And by the way, even if the administration, the executive branch, they're there to enforce the law. It's within the president's, it's justiciability. It's a political question. It's a foreign policy issue. It's within the president's realm to determine whether or not he wants this illegal immigrant back in the United States. It's point one. And point two is, even if he does want it, it's an El Salvadorian citizen. And so he doesn't get, we don't have jurisdiction over him anymore. Yeah, it's a fuck up. You're right. His wife can sue in court for civil wrongdoing. But like, there's nothing authoritarian, there's nothing illegal. This is all completely constitutional what's happening in regards to the after effects of the administrative error.
The Supreme Court still ruled that the administration needs to facilitate it and have a good faith effort. That's what they did rule. They still ruled the Trump administration is wrong because legally, he was not legally able to be deported to El Salvador, especially violating any process. Do you disagree with that? That this is illegal what they did?
Illegal?
They admit it was an error, but when you, from both a legal perspective and a moral perspective, or just as our country, I think picking anybody up and just having an ICE agent point at them saying, that looks like the guy, and sending him to a torture camp, I think that's really bad for constitutional rights in America. That's pretty antithetical to our entire country.
Okay, again, the constitutional rights thing too, dude. It's like due process is a right that's afforded to all persons. But not all persons are afforded all constitutional rights in this country. So, like, yes, I agree with you. Due process is afforded here, but let's separate that from constitutional rights. And the thing that really drives me nuts about this specific situation with this person, right, is you call him a Maryland resident. He's a litany of adjectives. He's an illegal immigrant. He's a wife beater. Like that just came out today. He's a Maryland resident. The wife beating part came from his wife, who made the allegation in court.
So you're saying if a couple gets into a fight and if someone is accused of something, you're saying that's enough to send them to a torture camp in El Salvador? Being accused of something?
That's not what I'm saying. That's not the point I'm making. The point I'm making is he's a litany of things, but yet you choose to categorize him as a Maryland resident.
Yeah, he did live in Maryland. Because he lived in Maryland and was raising a family there. Yeah, he was working there. He was a union apprentice for I forgot what sheet working.
Yeah, he was a litany of things. He's also an illegal immigrant. He's an alleged MS-13 member. Why don't we use these adjectives to describe him? Why is it Maryland resident?
Because he lived in Maryland, he was raising a family there, and we're not like terrible people. So we could say like, oh, this person is. Okay. We don't have to dehumanize every single person. We still wrongfully sent him to a torture camp in El Salvador. We could just say, that's a bad thing that America.
No. You're still missing a point. You're still missing a point. Trump is the president. He's a billionaire. He is a felon. Why do we choose to call him you know what I'm saying? Why felon? And that's the point I'm making with this person. It seems that there's charged behavioral reasoning as to why we're trying to paint this person in a positive light when the cards are inevitably stacked against him. Okay, here's something. Why won't El Salvador give him back?
You know he wasn't illegal, right? You know he wasn't illegal after the judge granted him to stay here, right?
Yeah, he was.
No, he was not illegal at that point. The withholding process went through, and he was here on a permit working, and he was not able to be deported to El Salvador. So yeah, he was here legally at that point. He was not illegal here.
Yeah, maybe for a time, but then the executive declares him an illegal immigrant?
No, after 2019. No. The executive declared him a terrorist and sent him to El Salvador torture camp. A terrorist. That's the big point here. They called him a terrorist.
There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing constitutionally illegal about that.
There's nothing wrong with them calling someone a terrorist with zero proof and sending them to a torture camp in El Salvador. You really would have loved Hitler, bro. You would have loved that guy. You would have been kissing his ass.
Oh my god!
Holy shit!
Dude,
You would have. No, you would have. I don't care. Don't get it. No, don't get offended. But you're giving cover for some of the most blatant violations of rights in American history, and you're like, oh, well, they should just.
Oh my god!
It's so stupid. My god. And you're like, the court did let him stay here, but he was still illegal. No, he wasn't illegal at that point. No, he wasn't.
If Russia accidentally sent Edward Snowden back to America, I'm like, we made an administrative fuck up, and he's in our custody again. And they're like, well, he's a Russian citizen. And we're like, right, yeah, he was also a U.S. citizen. Like, yeah, we've got some beef with this guy. Do you think that it's just up to us to just bend the knee because Russia made an administrative fuck up? You want to talk about Hitler shit?
Wait, are you talking about El Salvador or America? In that perspective, Russia would be the country that sent them. So if Russia wanted to take steps to try to facilitate their return, they can. But America right now is not even trying to get this person back who was wrongfully sent here.
No, the point that I'm making is why would America facilitate the return of that person to Russia? We have beef with him.
Because if we sent, so like for example,
beef with an El Salvadorian citizen.
If we like,
who are you?
Let's say we sent.
You say I love Hitler. Who are you?
Calm down.
America
okay, so if let's say we accidentally sent, let's say we accidentally sent like a Jewish man to Auschwitz. Should we facilitate the return to see if we can get them back by chance? Like, should we just like give our best try, or should we just let them stay there and rot without even trying?
If we sent a Jewish man to Auschwitz?
Yeah, administrative error. Like, should we try to get him back and try to facilitate the return, even if the Supreme Court says so? Like, should we do that, or should we just let him there?
Yes. What does that have to do with this?
Should we try to get him, because the Trump administration is not even trying to get this guy back?
Right, but the Jewish man getting sent to Auschwitz didn't do anything wrong.
This guy did not do anything wrong for this crime. They made a false accusation that he's a terrorist and sent him to a torture camp.
It's okay to declare
why does he
MS-13
deserve? He's not MS-13? There's zero proof that he's MS-13.
Okay, I don't know if the jury's not out on if there's zero proof that he was MS-13 or not.
Okay, then you can't send someone to a torture camp or a concentration camp. I agree.
No, you're making a declarative affirmation that he was never a part of MS-13. He was fleeing El Salvador, right? And is the presumption of why he was fleeing El Salvador is they said, I'm not going to get protected from the El Salvadorian government.
MS-13 gang member was here for like 15 years, and he was able to commit no crime. And also the Trump administration's DOJ gave him the legal right to stay here, withholding, after he's here illegally all those years. That's crazy. The Trump administration must be very liberal. Wow, 2019, that's crazy, bro. MS-13, he must have been really hiding that. That's nuts.
Didn't ICE allege his MS-13 affiliation from a confidence information?
The police officer was fired who said that. He was a known liar. I'm pretty sure he did something with like sex work and like paid someone to have sex with him or something.
No, wait. The confidant was not a police officer.
Well, you'd have to go through the legal process and know why the judge allowed him to stay here and how he has zero crimes ever. And look at the evidence of him like wearing a Bulls hat as a reason that they think he's MS-13, or saying he's MS-13 in a region of the country he never lived in. But regardless, the standard of evidence they have here is still like, do you think he deserved to be sent to a torture camp, or?
First, I don't think it's a torture camp.
It explicitly is a torture camp. They don't even have beds. They have sheets. They have metal like shelves like you'd find in Walmart.
Yeah, I've seen it.
But they have a kill shed. They torture. They starve. They do forced labor. No one gets released until they die. It's a definition of a forced labor torture camp, concentration camp. Like there's no other way to describe what that is.
You could describe it as a prison set up by El Salvador to house them.
Oh yeah, Auschwitz was just a prison. Auschwitz was a prison.
No, okay. There's another difference between something like a concentration camp and a prison. A prison is a place that people are sent who have done a wrong crime deemed by a government, right? And the crime is laid out in statute.
So how about the
That's something that
19-year-old? How about the 19-year-old they accidentally sent there as well, who did nothing? He was the wrong guy. What about the professional soccer player that escaped Venezuela after getting electrically shocked by their dictatorship,
Yes,
and he
there
made to
are-
America through a legal port of entry, or the gay barber, or the person with the autism awareness tattoo, or the person who was a tattoo artist as well? What about the other 150 people, 200, 300 people that we sent there that were completely innocent? What about the 80% of people we sent there that had zero criminal record at all? We sent them to a death camp with zero due process. That's insane.
They're
That's
completely
insane.
they're completely innocent.
Do you
They
realize we're
committed no
talking
crime.
about sending someone to a concentration camp, a torture camp, and
Okay,
you're like, "Oh, are they
you're
completely
you're
innocent?" Oh, look, he jaywalked. It's
Oh.
okay to send him to the torture camp now because he's brown and he jaywalked. Wow, dude.
Your logic is flawed, and this is why.
Oh,
Would you call a prison in America a concentration camp because there have been people that have been wrongfully imprisoned? No.
if
You call
if
it
we
a
were,
prison.
if they were starving people, beating them, if they had a kill shed with no due process, yes. If we had prisons with zero due process, in America, yes, they would fall
Dude,
under that category.
That's not, first and foremost. You don't know if El Salvador is doing due process on these people or not.
Bro, are you stupid? Are you actually a dumb person? Like, are you dumb or just a bad person? Like, which one of the? How do you know El Salvador is doing due process? Are you kidding me? Do you breathe air or do you just like choke on it? Like, how's like Jesus Christ, dude? What kind of a dumb statement is that? What the hell? Like, what do you think El Salvador is?
A country.
Do you think they're doing due process in El Salvador? Do you know how stupid that is?
They have a constitution. It guarantees due process.
Dude, you're fucking stupid. What the hell? You're like, well, what if they like jaywalked? What about the 19-year-old kid? Well, he might have jaywalked one. Dude, like, can we just like agree it's bad for the government to just like call someone a terrorist and have no due process and ship them to a torture camp? Like, I just think that's bad. It's bad.
No, dude. Oh my God.
You think it's good? You think it's good for the government to just make accusations that they're a terrorist? So if the government says you're a terrorist right now, they should be able to do that. Any person that's a terrorist, they could just say that.
That's not. No. That's also not the facts.
That's what you're doing. I don't know if you're smart enough to understand this. What you're saying, but
no, dude. What I'm saying. Listen to me, please. My God, I'm begging you, for the love of all logic.
hey,
If
let
this
go.
guy
You're
gets
gripping your
sent
phone
back
too hard.
to
You're gonna break your
America-
phone. You're gonna break your phone. Stop gripping your phone
If
so hard.
if
Okay.
this guy is sent back to America, right? Okay. And Trump wants to. He can because he's not a citizen. He's not guaranteed the constitutional rights. He's
Where would he go
guaranteed
then?
Process
Where would he be deported?
back to El Salvador.
Nope.
He's a
Because
citizen of El
because
Salvador.
because
Yes, he
the
would.
hey buddy hey. So you know the 2019 ruling. That was the one country he could not be sent to. He'd be sent to a third country, a safe third country, a different country from El Salvador. And if he was sent back to a country in general, he would not be sent to a torture camp, a torture prison with no due process, saying he's a terrorist. Do you see where your flaws are?
No, dude.
They sent him to the one place he was legally protected from going to. He was legally protected from going to El Salvador. Not only did they send him there, but they sent him to the torture camp,
Dude,
saying he's a terrorist gang member.
You're calling me dumb, but you're misinterpreting the powers vested in certain branches in the Constitution.
I'm sorry,
Right.
I'm just anti-authoritarian. You're pro big government. You're pro Soviet. You're pro
big-
Kim Jong Un. You're pro China.
government.
You're pro
I'm not
Russia.
pro-big
You are
Dude,
you are
I'm
everything that this country is against. You realize that? Read the Declaration of Independence sometime. You'll understand. You'll probably learn something.
The Declaration of okay. Let's talk about the Constitution. Okay, let's stay on point here. We're talking about court cases. Fang Yuting versus United States. Right. This is Supreme Court precedent, 1893. The executive can take non-citizens and he can deport. That's their prerogative. That's what you're not getting, man. You can call it authoritarian.
So when
but
the
don't say it's not
Supreme,
in
you
line with the
realize, okay,
Constitution.
it's not. The Supreme Court ruled 9-0 that the Trump administration is violating due process. They ruled 9-0 they're violating due process before the case with Garcia. Like they
We're not
ruled this
talking-
already.
Hey, what I'm saying right now.
The Supreme
We're
Court right now
beyond-
is
we're
the
on-
most far-right conservative court that believes in the unitary executive theory, and they literally said that the court ruling that they need to facilitate return, they were wrong about it. It was 9-0. Like both of the cases that were about
First
this
and foremost,
was 9-0. But like,
First
I
and
just don't know
foremost,
why
I
you're
don't
going
think
to
it's
such
legitimate.
limits to talk about this big authoritarian government power being okay. Like, you would have said after
No.
9/11 that we should have all our phones tapped because it'll prevent terrorism with the Patriot Act. Like, you would have been the same guy
No.
advocating to throw away all of our freedoms because they can call everything terrorism. I'm a terrorist. You're a terrorist. We're all terrorists now because the government says so. I don't want to live in that country. Move to Russia if you want that. Move to Hungary. Move to an authoritarian country with no due process then, because the Constitution does not approve of this, and that's why the Supreme Court even is siding against Trump here.
Bravo. Now back to the logic. The Supreme Court has already ruled that the president, this is a foreign policy question for non-residents. My point that I'm making-
legally
the point-
protected from being deported.
The point that I'm making that you're missing is that even if the Supreme Court does a 9-0 ruling, all they're saying is the order is valid. They cannot direct the executive to do anything. That's why they have to determine what effectuate means. And even if they did that, dude, it's not unconstitutional for Trump to then go, okay, due process has been given. You're going back to El Salvador. That is the 1893 ruling. That's already been established. That's what I'm saying. The executive has foreign policy control over immigration. It's been decided. It's a moot point.
There is nothing. There is no law that says you could just claim someone's a terrorist if they're an immigrant or not and ship them to a torture camp. There's no law that says you could do that. You can't do that because our country is founded on the principle that you have due process. So American citizens can't be accused of being terrorists and then just shipped somewhere. And that's why the court is going against Trump, and that's why they reinforce the idea that the Trump administration needs to rectify the issue the mistake they made.
There's no statute, but there's common law set by the Supreme Court. That's law, dude. Supreme Court is common law. That is law.
That's crazy how the Supreme Court now disagrees with you, but it's whatever. I don't know, like, I don't know what I could say to convince you, because you don't, like, you're anti-Constitution, you're anti-due process, you're anti all these things.
All I've done is talk about the Constitution.
Like,
and the
you thought he was going to be deported back to El Salvador. He was legally protected from going back to El Salvador, like, regardless. And if they had other trials, like, are you saying that if they brought him back and wanted to deport him, are you saying that he would not have a chance to be, like, deported, go through an actual hearing, be deported, versus being sent to, like, being labeled as a terrorist and a gang member and sent to El Salvador to essentially be executed? Like, he's probably dead, by the way. Like,
let's take the temperature down. That's not what I'm saying, dude. This is what I'm trying to say. Let's say Trump, he doesn't have personal jurisdiction over him anymore. But let's say that El Salvador is like, okay, we'll facilitate the return of him, right? So he goes through the court system, and the court system goes, you are a legal resident. Yes, this is valid. We've gone through all the evidence, and we found nothing that says you're an MS-13 gang member. You're completely good to go. You can go back to the executive can come in and say, okay, he is not a U.S. citizen. He's a legal resident.
Do you see?
We are going to deport him back to the country that he is citizen of. That is a vested right in the presidency.
Do you see why that?
Supreme Court.
Do you see any reason why that is a million times more preferable than the federal government being able to call someone a terrorist and shipping them off and saying once they're in a plane, it's now foreign policy, therefore the courts can't say anything about them being innocent or not innocent? Do you not see how what you just said there is a million times preferable to sending someone to their torture and death with no due process? Do you not see why?
No, again, I'm trying to take the temperature down. That's preferable. I'm not.
It's not even just preferable.
You went so high and right, but calling me
necessary.
some Hitlerian fuck. I'm like, dude.
You would have been justifying it 100%. You would have been justifying Enabling Act. You would have been justifying it. You'd been like, they have the power to, like, dude, like the whole point of this is that we sent someone to their death using government power, authoritarianism, with just like accusations with no proof, and now they're demonizing this person, saying we don't want him back. He's not a model, like whatever, like lying their ass off about him. At the same time, protecting Jeffrey Epstein, by the way. But like. It's just insane. It's insane to hear people saying that it's okay that they did this. Do you think it's okay that they like made an accusation and sent him there, like to the torture camp, as a labeled terrorist?
I'll say this. I don't think it's okay that they made an administrative error. Like I think that's a major fuck up. I mean, when we say administrative error, I don't think it's okay that in their clerical error, this person ended up getting sent to El Salvador without due process. I don't think that's okay. But I do have to temper that with another thing though, which is that like we can't say that we respect other countries' autonomy. and we can't say we are fair players in the international world when we say, hey, anyone that touches U.S. soil and anyone that we declare to be untouchable because they're in the U.S., even though they're a citizen of another country, we now have ultimate autonomy and authority over this person. Well, that's fucked up, right? Like what? Where is El Salvador's ability to say, no, he's an El Salvadorian citizen, he needs to go through our legal process because we have beef with him?
Well, okay, I will say, like, and someone said, I didn't bring this up yet, but like when they make accusations and they've already detained American citizens, but the no due process part's really big when you say it. Like when you see all these legal asylum seekers that came through legal ports of entry that were sent here as well, like completely innocent people, and we know this for a fact for many of the cases. If like this is happening at a pretty far scale. For El Salvador, we're paying El Salvador millions of dollars to do this. They've already sent people back to us because they were from another country nearby. It would have hurt their relations. They sent women back. We sent women accidentally. So it is a contractor relationship. They have sent people back already. And like Bukele said, I don't have the power to send them back. And Trump said, I don't have the power to send them back. So they're kind of just like, throwing that to the side. And that also is like, yeah, the big point on like determining if someone is illegal or not, or a citizen or not. It's necessary we maintain due process. If the executive is going to get so cocky in this sense to say, we know best, it's foreign policy, now Trump, and I'm sure you're against this part, when Trump says like, we're going to build more prisons in El Salvador for the homegrowns. And he uses the word homegrown because the definition of homegrown terrorism, we're walking down a pretty bad direction if Trump is saying we're gonna send American citizens there, and using the word homegrown, and like it's just not a good place to go down. Would you agree with that? Or
I'd agree with you, but I agree with you, but dude, this has been going on since 2015. Read my lips, heed my words. Trump is not going to send United States citizens to El Salvador and send them to their prisons. Everything that the left is saying that Trump, it's the things that he's going to do. Oh, he's gonna do this. He said this. Dude, he's fucking trolling. He's trolling so fucking hard, dude.
He's trolling so hard. What about the tariffs?
He's not running a third time.
What about the tariffs?
Running a third term.
Wait, there's a bunch of different things. So there's like tariffs. There's the 2020 election that Trump still lies about, and people said he was not gonna like violently, or at least like illegally, even if you don't think January 6th is his fault, is his fault. He still tried overturning the 2020 election, still lies about it. They never would have said he would send, like he was actually accidentally, quote unquote, send hundreds of people to El Salvador torture camps. They would have never said a lot of the stuff he's doing now would be something he actually did, or that Doge was going to go through and just like scan through our government data and install private backends. Like there's all these topics we can go through where it's like, well, he kind of has fulfilled. I guess, like, is there one topic that you like the most? Like, do you like? I think the tariffs are indefensible, but like, is there one topic there that you're like, okay, well, that's one point that you disagree with me on, or
the Doge thing, dude? People need to see the bigger picture with Doge, and I'm gonna try and make you a believer. I need you to hear me out, dude. This is a generational problem. This is not class warfare. This is race warfare. This is generational. This is your generation, my generation, against the other generations, dude. We have a serious problem with government spending. And Doge is not doing enough to cut that government spending, dude. We are fucked with a capital F if we do not figure out how to reduce our government spending. And I'm talking by a lot. Like Doge has done nothing. Yeah, we need to figure something out with Medicare. We need to figure out something with Social Security, because the system is going to default. I just don't understand why anyone's making arguments for why we're cutting USAID. It's like, that's not far enough, man. What's the response to that? We're going to default. It's inevitable. It's a mathematical formula. Once X amount of the money that we have in our deficit, when our monthly or our annual GDP services the debt after a certain percentage, we're slaves to that. So we default.
So I would say, like right now, Trump's budget calls for adding like $20 trillion or $30 trillion over the next 10 years. He's increasing the debt a lot. He wants to have a $1 trillion military budget. He fired a bunch of IRS agents, which is going to hurt our ability to collect revenue. IRS agents return a lot more money than they cost. So that's going to reduce our ability. Our economy is striking from the tariffs. So we're going to have less overall revenue coming in, and we're not slowing down spending in any area. The Doge cuts went from $2 trillion to 150, and I would say those cuts might reduce economic production as well when you cut like nutritional programs or farmers programs or whatever else it might, whatever else it might be. Doge has not found any waste or fraud or abuse really, and yeah, looking at the actual budgets, I think the proof comes in court cases and budgets because that's where the actual money is going to be spent. And yeah, it seems like they're increasing the deficit a lot. Like, why do you think none of this is showing up? Like, our expenditures right now federally are surpassing last year, and our budget's going to be blown up with the tax cuts and everything included. So, like, what do you get from that?
What I get from that is, okay, dude, like that's where I'm at on this is fine. I don't care who's right and who's wrong. I don't care if Trump is increasing the debt or it was going to be Harris or whatever. Like 6% of our GDP services that debt, right? 3% of the GDP services the interest. That's a lot, man. And so once we get,
But isn't the big thing that they're going to be increasing the deficit so much? Like, how does that, like, you know what I mean?
I think the idea is to try to. I think the idea that Trump is trying to push forth is, hey, if there's a way that we can decrease the waste, fraud, and abuse to such a point that it can justify an increase in spending to offset it, then we can keep the ship afloat. And I think that's not the right way to. That's bad. I think that you need to have reductions across the board. And it's not, it's a matter, it's the left in particular is just so anti-cut. They're so big bloat. It just blows my mind, man. It blows my fucking mind. It's like, we need to shrink everything, not out of the conservatism but out of sheer necessity that we are going to default on our debt. And then you're not going to have anybody to complain to.
We can't default on the debt. It would be
valueless.
like if someone says default on the debt, it makes no sense. But we can't have like, let's say we stop growing as an economy and it like took over.
We're gonna default on the loan payments for our interest.
We would just have a lot of inflation because we can't really default on the debt. But if we have the debt to GDP ratio is definitely the big thing to watch. Not really the total debt. It's like a return on investment if we're like growing enough to supply it, but just from like a perspective of the budget. But with Republicans and Democrats, and by the way, everyone watching, please drop a like and subscribe, and thank you to the caller. We're gonna wind down here, but if you want to call in anyone, the phone number's on screen or join the Discord. I see one person waiting in Discord, so I'll take them next, and then I'll take someone else after that. But thank you for all the likes, subscribes, donations, whatever. We'll end on this topic. I would just say that when you look at the budgets of like Kamala versus Trump, for example, Trump's expand the budget much more, largely because of the tax cuts and the military budget, which is going to be over $1 trillion. So he's probably worse for the budget than her. And if you look at the like national debt, most of our deficit like historically has been added by Republicans. So Reagan tripled or quadrupled our national debt, and then Bush, and then H.W. Bush increased our debt. Bill Clinton had a surplus, and then George Bush, W. Bush, had the big tax increases and the spending on the war in Iraq and Afghanistan. He had a huge deficit. Obama brought it down after Bush, after 2008. Then Trump brought it back up from where Obama left it because of his tax cuts. Then we had COVID. Then Biden brought it down from Trump, and now Trump is increasing the debt again. So like historically, most of our debt by far has come from Republicans, and it's also because they crashed the economy. Most recessions happen under Republicans as well. So I mean, you could respond to that, but I just like there's no proof. The things you're saying right now, even if you think that's an issue, Trump is worse than Democrats for that. So it's just like you could say they don't want to cut, but like sometimes spending more money gets you more money. If you look at Amazon, they took out a lot of loans and spent a lot of money to get their business growing, right? Because infrastructure plans and healthcare and all this stuff, they encourage economic growth for pretty much every sector. So I guess we need more proof and actual evidence that this that this stuff is actually doing something, I'd say.
Okay. The argument that the right increases the debt more, I don't think that's exclusively proven. And the reason is there's a few factors at play there when the left versus the right are dealing with the debt. The left does increase the debt in so much as the right increases the debt. The difference is menial. It's completely menial. The people that you're comparing increasing the debt at different time periods where the value that they're increasing it varies with the time period. Does that make sense? Like, go ahead.
No, I would say like it definitely depends on like what's happening in the world. I just and you could take this or leave it, obviously, but there's like a chart of like percent increases or decreases in national debt. And with our total debt, Republican presidents have added 60 to 65% of our total debt, like that big number we have. Democrats have added 35 to 40%. And the biggest drivers of debt increases are tax cuts. So the Reagan tax cut in 1981, Bush in 2001, Trump 2017, increased military spending. And they never really cut like Medicare or Medicaid or Social Security because, you know, their people need it and that helps economy. So, you know, that's usually, you're not like wrong. There's different things that go into it. But it still is true that typically Republicans will add more debt than, you know, than Democrats for the tax cuts and war spending usually because they don't cut anything. So.
Yeah, but I hear you, but like 2 trillion, the things that are getting increased because of the debt are extremely different things. Like Republicans do increase the debt more, but it's for discretionary spending. Democrats increase the debt more for non-discretionary spending. And so then once something becomes non-discretionary, then we don't consider it an increase in the debt year over year. Like when FDR set up Social Security, like we're not counting the Social Security debt to FDR anymore, are we? We're counting the Social Security debt under each consecutive president, that's left or right. Did the Social Security debt go up more under Republican president? Maybe, but the entire program was made by the left.
Well, that's hard because Social Security is not in our normal budgets. It's not like tied into the national debt necessarily. So it's usually just like the spending in Medicare, Medicaid, Medicaid, and then we'd have like what is it? Like military. I think it's like military and tax cuts are the biggest things, and killing the IRS agents or cutting them. Like what do you? Okay, just let's just end on this question. Do you think it's the IRS thing I said? Does that make sense to you? Do you agree or disagree with that it's bad to cut the IRS? It's good to increase it because they go after the big fish, right? They go after the people hiding money. They go after if the IRS is strained of resources, they can't go after our like a lot of the people that have really smart lawyers or if they move their finances around. So that's why we get so much less revenue collected without IRS. So like Trump cut them, Biden increased IRS. I would just say it's good general rule of thumb if you want. Or even if, like, let's say you have a lower tax plan, you still want enough agents to service that plan correctly to cut out loopholes and everything to make sure it runs efficiently. So I'm definitely against them cutting IRS agents like they did.
Okay, 2 things on that. First, Social Security is considered a part of the debt. It's non-discretionary spending. Non-discretionary spending is considered part of the debt. Social Security is part of that. Second, as far as the IRS aspect goes, that the Trump administration is cutting IRS agents you're servicing an argument that I don't agree with to begin with, which is that why is it that we are taxing income? It doesn't make sense to me. It's this idea that we think of as old as the fucking Constitution. It's like 110 years old, and the use of it in income for the majority of Americans is far less older than that. I.e., when its creation happened under Wilsonian Democrats, it was only 2% of the American population being taxed. So I would say you need to get rid of taxing income. You can still, because I'm sure you have some vendetta against the wealthy, you can find other commodities to tax. You can tax property, you can tax goods, services, and get rid of income tax. Then take the money, whatever revenue you can get, and use that to service the government. That's my argument. You don't need to have this bloated IRS system with thousands and thousands of employees to service this, because you don't even need to service the income tax. You can service other taxes.
Okay, my final thing would just be in the current world. Okay, the current tax system, the taxes Trump is passing. It's just the policy he's doing, increasing government spending, increasing ICE spending, increasing military. Decreasing tax revenue, mostly for wealthy individuals, which we really don't need right now. But he's going to increase taxes with tariffs, which are going to hurt a lot of people and tax a lot of people. That might make up for some revenue, but it's really not doing as much because the economy is shrinking. and also cutting IRS agents in the current system. Cutting them in the current system that is reality that we face is just like anti. If you want to decrease the deficit, we're kind of everything he does goes in the wrong direction versus what Kamala was planning on doing.
Cutting the IRS agents, dude, that is such a small grain of rice relative to what needs to be done to cut the deficit.
But that's why it's stupid. That's why it's really dumb. That's why Doge is stupid.
No.
By the way, Social Security does not add to the debt directly. It does not add to the debt directly.
You chose your words carefully there. It doesn't add to the debt directly. It's a part of non-discretionary spending, and non-discretionary spending is in the equation for our debt.
Yeah, if they borrow like from the bond market.
Moving on.
It's like,
the IRS agents, whatever they would get from being employed in revenue from like trying to catch people off guard, the IRS agents don't fucking go after the wealthy. And I'm not saying that as some like jaded economist type, right? The IRS agents don't go after the wealthy because the wealthy they know that it's the wealthy have enough resources to allocate their money in legal ways that for them to try and get that money is like an impossible legal battle. The IRS goes after people that make on median under $230,000 for joint household income. So that's not gonna get more money out of the wealthy, dude. That's just gonna fuck guys like you and me.
No, they just enforce the tax code. The reason they can't go after wealthy because they don't have enough resources. Like if you look at the numbers, okay, if you look at the numbers of our revenue collected, okay, the IRS agents being added makes us collect more revenue. They are, if you talk about like a business or investing, every IRS agent, I'm pretty sure for every $1 we spend brings in like $10 more in revenue because they have enough resources to go after the bigger fish, to tighten some loopholes and whatever else it might be. So like what you're saying right now is just it's just not based in reality. It's a good investment to pay for IRS agents. But Trump is really pro tax fraud, so I guess that's what he wants. But what you're saying right now just makes no logical sense. But I'll let you end on whatever you want to say.
There's truth in that to a degree. More IRS agents does mean that there can be more revenue collected because there could be more enforcement of the IRS code. However, that's not that there's a diminishing returns aspect of it. All right, and the diminishing returns aspect of it is already there. There's so much bureaucratic inefficiency that bureaucratic agents doesn't guarantee an effective enforcement. Simply like expanding headcount without addressing like the efficiency of like infrastructure, data analysis, it's just going to waste resources, dude. It's going to just waste them. The blunt of the effect that more audits leads to more money is not true, because in order to get that money, you have to go through like litigation, and that prolonged litigation. You can get money.
I'm just telling you the actual budget data we have, the actual data from the IRS that we have. Like this is data we have available to us. We don't have to theorize about this. It's inefficient to fire them. That's the point. It's inefficient to fire them. We don't have any process to do this other than hiring more people that are experts at this, and they could like it is efficient. We have the numbers to prove it's efficient. The only way we can know it's efficient is because if we add IRS agents and pay for them, we see the gain in revenue directly attributed to them. Like I don't know how else I could convince you, but okay.
Does that take into account that income tax has gone up over time?
Yes. We look at the expected revenue collected with our agents and then with the agents added. So there's a bunch of different ways they can calculate expected revenue collected, and then we add agents. And it's like, okay, we beat what we expected with our former capacity. And I don't have every exact metric for it. But there's analysis that you could read on IRS's own reports about it. But I need to hop onto another call. I appreciate the long conversation. But yeah, I appreciate the conversation, even if we disagree. Hope to see you around the channel, all that kind of stuff.
Later.
All right, have a good one. Okay. That was a fun talk with cognitive dissonance. Oh, wait, the return on investment for the IRS is 415 to 1. Thank you, Kyle. I only said 10 to 1. I only said 10 to 1. It's 415 to 1? Is that what the report said? He will ask whatever. I don't know why people justify things that are blatantly anti-American or un-American. Hi, DJ.
Oh.
How long?
I
did you
have
listen to that one?
I just want to say a couple things.
Okay.
Shaughnessy v. Messe. All right. This is a Supreme Court case. Here's a quote. "It is true that aliens who have once passed through our gates, even illegally, may be expelled only after proceedings conforming to traditional standards of fairness encompassed in due process of law.
Plyler v. Doe, another Supreme Court case. Here's a quote. Instead, use of the phrase within its jurisdiction confirms the understanding that the 14th Amendment's protections extend to anyone, citizen or stranger, who is subject to the laws of a state. Matthews v. Diaz. Guess what? It's a Supreme Court case. Here's a quote. There are literally millions of aliens within the jurisdiction of the United States. The Fifth Amendment, as well as the 14th Amendment, protects every one of these persons from deprivation of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. Even one whose presence in this country is unlawful, involuntary, or transitory is entitled to that constitutional protection. Yamataya v. Fisher. It is not competent for the Secretary of the Treasury or any executive officer to cause an alien who has entered the country, although alleged to be here illegally, to be taken into custody and deported without giving him all opportunity to be heard upon the questions involving his right to be and remain in the United States. 14th Amendment, the Equal Protection Clause, says to all persons within the jurisdiction of the United States. The court has consistently ruled that within the jurisdiction means residing within the border. You come here illegally, and we want to deport you, you have the right to a court case. I want to hear these maggots in chat explain why they do not care about the rights afforded to all persons within our country, whether legally or not, afforded to them by the Constitution. I want to hear why they don't care about it. I'm not happy. How you doing, Jolah?
Yeah. How you were listening to it for a decent amount of time then if you heard him bring up random court rulings. And that's like that trap in conversations where if you like memorize a court case that someone hasn't heard of before. But I also know that people watching don't care that much about, individual court cases because like explaining it conceptually probably matters more, but it is annoying to hear them bring up cases that they're completely wrong on. And even like the current one, it's hard to talk to someone who's so off base and so far from reality, like with the 9-0 decision, like, oh, well, they actually didn't say that they have to like facilitate it. They just like, they don't have the ability to like tell people to do things. It's like, okay, it's just like, at some point, it's like, you're so dumb, it's hard to even argue with you. Like, you're so stupid, how can I even make a point? Like, Jesus.
Right, yeah. To all the people in the Shorts chat, the horizontal viewers, you guys are cool. All the people in the Shorts chat who are saying no due process for a citizen, cry liberal, come here legally next time. You people do not care about the Constitution. You people do not care about the judicial branch of our government. You people do not care about the long history of interpretation by legal scholars that have been appointed by various presidents whose job it is to interpret the Constitution and what rights it affords to who. You do not care about their opinions. You would rather suck vigorously forever and ever until it's sore. You would suck it until it falls off.
Yeah, okay. That means nothing sexual. But yeah, I'm just gonna read the donations really quick, and then there's someone in the waiting room here. It says progressive on their thing though, so I don't know if they actually want to debate something. No. I'm happy.
That's all I got for now.
No, I appreciate the looking up the cases because it's hard during the conversation to. And I like keeping it moving with the shorts. Like I don't want to take like a 10-minute pause to look something up, especially because like I feel like that is a trap designed to have me thrown off in the conversation to get away from my points because they want to make me go like investigate their dumb shit from the Supreme Court rulings they're not going to quote, right? Jordan, thank you so much for the 5 gifted memberships earlier. Thank you so much. I have to get better at looking at donations as I'm talking or during streams. Thank you for Jordan for $5 as well. Ready for a new hit product? Take some genetic soy. 3 easy injections to get you a life of relaxation. It's in the name too. Jump for joy. Have some soy. That's really good. I hope you did not make that with AI. You definitely made it yourself, right? $2, correct power and proper process. You wrong, Jolah. Okay, Daddy and a Caddy. My mail read Kelly. Thank you, Kelly, for $10. The only way to prove someone is illegal or not is due process. Thank you so much for that $10. I do make sure I read super chats, especially during the conversation. So, even if it's just like $2 on a super chat, if you have something that I'm not bringing up in the conversation, obviously there's like 800 different points we can go at to attack this issue. And it's like, yeah, it's hard to bring back to everything. So thank you for reminding me to bring that point up as well for the audience. But Daddy and a Caddy said with $2, correct power, improper process. You wrong, Jolah. Which one was I talking about then? I'm not sure. I'm not really sure. Do you know DJ? Are you here, DJ? Do you know, I don't know if DJ's here. DJ's muted.
Wait, what? What was the question?
The $2 donation. I'll take some calls in a second, guys, who's watching. Call the phone number if you guys want to call in. But Daddy and a Caddy said correct power and proper process. You wrong, Jolah. What was I wrong? Okay, what would I... Correct power and proper process. Wait, so you're saying the executive branch does have the power to do this, but it's the wrong process? Like they just like missed, like the Pan Bounty argument that they just missed paperwork or whatever? Is that what he's saying?
Again, I don't like, you can be found guilty because of gross negligence. Like, if you
that's true.
If you make the guy said a clerical error. If you make a clerical error that's so drastic as to result in someone being denied a right afforded to them by the Constitution, it's as bad as if you did it intentionally, especially if it's your job to execute the laws that are passed by Congress and the interpretations of the Supreme Court.
We didn't do it on purpose. We're just stupid. We're that stupid. That guy kept on bringing up earlier. He kept bringing up, the president can still like say we're gonna try to deport him. It's like, bro, like why do you keep avoiding the fact we just call this person a designated terrorist and send him to a torture camp? Like it's just crazy how they justify it by quoting something completely different.
Yeah, the job of the executive branch is to execute, not kill people.
Not actually execute. We don't want that.
But to execute the law, to take the laws passed by Congress and to make sure that those laws get enforced, and to take the Constitution as interpreted by the Supreme Court and enforce that. The president, the executive branch in general, cannot, like, they can't just say, this is what we're going to do now, this is what due process means. That's not the job of the executive. It never has been.
Whoopsies, he's in a plane over international water. It's officially foreign policy, and you can't make us do different foreign policy decisions, can you? Because they're a terrorist now. And now we have homegrown terrorists. We're going to denaturalize them. I'm going to take calls, but like the one big point. I mean, you might agree at this point, but I know you're more of an institutional person. And by the way, this is DJ, a mod in Discord, a mod in training, as we call DJ. But yeah, join Discord. I'll drop the Discord link in the chats. Join Discord. You can call in through there, or you can just come chat with us after or before the streams or during the day. But yeah, the conversation right now being that overwhelming public pressure is the only thing right now that's going to stop what's happening. The institutions are failing. Even the Supreme Court, if the Supreme Court rules against them, they are going to defy it. Like, they are going to defy everything right now. I don't see any evidence anywhere that they're ever going to pull back on anything they're doing, which is very troubling, of course, especially with the Insurrection Act recommendation pending for April 20th. I don't see any institutional barriers to what they're doing other than themselves being so bad and so uncontrolled, like flying Icarus, flying too close to the sun with their tariffs, which might economically impact enough people to turn them against them. But even that, I feel like it's going to be small for the public pressure that's going to be needed to I don't know if America is very geared towards having peaceful revolutions or not, but.
No, I agree. I mean, like, institutions are only as strong as the people who produce those institutions and uphold them and hold them accountable when they fail. An institution really it's not going to be able to do anything if no one supports or, holds its feet to the fire as far as doing its job. So yeah, it really is a people thing at this point. If people want to vote away the civil liberties and rights of their neighbors and of persons within the United States, they're going to be allowed to do that, and it's going to happen.
He was no angel, right? He was no angel. He did a bad thing once. Hey, Cindy, I don't know. Are you calling into the stream or are you just hanging out? Cindy the Minx. Just want to check really quick before I take a caller on Google Voice. Nothing?
Going once.
Yeah,
All
I
right,
guess,
do it.
not. All right, I'll take a
Yeah.
call.
Hello.
Oh wait.
Can you hear me?
Hi. Hi.
Sorry.
Are you trying
Yeah,
to call
sorry, I
in, or
didn't
you are trying
realize
to call
because
in?
I got the stream going and all that. So,
Yeah.
can you hear me good?
Yeah. What's up?
Okay, so all right. I know it's progressive, but that's probably the best choice out of them. Let me know if I start breaking up. I'm actually working. You're always on when I'm working, so the best I can do. Is that all right?
Yeah, I mean, if I could provide any entertainment for anyone that's working, I mean, some people call in there like driving trucks or delivering or working. I know one of our mods works at a gym at night, so Kyle's in chat. I
Nice.
think Kyle's in the Discord, but yeah, that's definitely good to hear.
I do hard work. I usually end up lifting about anywhere between 30 and 50 pounds throughout the whole night.
Big muscles.
So, nope.
Remember,
I'm
lift
a
with your
woman,
back only. If you want
goddammit.
your back, if you want your back to be strong, lift with only your back.
I know. So basically, I was an MP, openly served as a trans woman during Don't Ask, Don't Tell. So I have a little bit of law enforcement background, etc., and even a little bit more on the resume than just that. I'm gonna sort of paraphrase Neil deGrasse Tyson here. There is a certain point that we have to just either accept what we're being given or just move on. And with a lot of these conservative callers, I mean, obviously, you're doing the YouTube thing, and there's part of the entertainment value, but at the same token, it's like people out there need to understand that you're not at a certain point. There's just no changing these people's minds. You kind of just you have to hold them accountable. You could have someone dead to rights, and they will profusely deny it with all evidence.
Yeah, my theory on that is usually just and this is advice I give to everyone who's organizing right now. And by the way, everyone, please drop a like on the stream. I'll take some angry callers in a second. You can call the Google Voice number, in a second. I'll answer on there. But yeah, I usually just say don't waste too much time on anyone. If you're organizing or just talking to people in general, if someone's stubborn, they're stubborn. Like, give facts if you have any facts or make an argument. But if they are just like draining your energy, don't let them kill your energy. There are enough people out there who are getting fed fake information. They're genuinely watching like Joe Rogan for his dumbass conspiracy shit and being led down a freaking, I don't even know what to call them, a Holocaust denier pipeline with the people that Rogan has on now, saying that Hitler would just like love this country or whatever. And they are genuine victims. They are actual victims of disinformation, voting against their own interests, voting their rights away because they're being lied to by propaganda monsters.
That is true.
Try to reach as many people as
the
possible.
same token, there has to be also accountability for these people, because as much as we all can be victims and stuff, just because someone's a victim, like I've been a victim of stuff too. We all have been probably victims of something. Don't let them use that as a way to kind of let them excuse their behavior and actions.
Well, there is a distinct difference. There's a big difference between someone who pretty much knows what the facts are and says, "I don't care anyway. That brown guy, get him out of my damn country because he doesn't belong here. I'm a Christian and I hate them." There's a difference between that guy and like a 18-year-old that watches Joe Rogan and believes dumb shit because he literally never learned it before. I think we need to differentiate between them and hold people accountable who literally do. Like the propagandists that we know are lying, terrible human beings. I'm just saying from a pragmatic perspective, and I bully people, but I bully people.
Well, it takes everyone
words, and like I bully them in a fundamental way that's more paternalistic, or like it's more of like a solid, like, I want you to be better. Like, please don't look stupid online. Like, bro, do your own work. You personal responsibility, like a Jordan Peterson speech, but for doing your own work instead of cleaning your room and like actually having independent thought and everything. But I will say before I take another angry caller, I have two trans girls in the chat at the same time. It's insane. I feel like such a good progressive boy.
I'm not insofar as I speak to the stream, I'm a man. All right.
I think I'm done.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, you go ahead, Zen. No, you're good. Yeah, you get. I'm gonna end on this. What I have to say though.
Yeah. So one other important thing to note is that laws can be enforced or not enforced. Serving in the military, that basically, like when I was driving, we had a guy clearly assault going on between service members. Okay, me and my right along, we saw it. We approached. We went up to the situation. Now, as per the regulations, dead to rights, no questions asked. We protocol, bring them in, book them, done. Did we do that? No. We went up. We kind of figured out what was going on. We talked to them. And so it turns out the guys were, I knew from my A school, and their guy was pretty fucked up. He ended up assaulting them, and they didn't want none. They didn't want no charges or nothing. And, it's just, so realistically, he should have been charged. That was within the law. That was within our parameters. We chose not to follow and obey the rules and regulations. It happens all the time with cops. Cops do this all the time.
Yeah, I'm sure.
So this idea that, these ICE agents and this and that, it's like, look, first off, these individuals are 100% cognizant of what they're doing. This is a absolute effort. Everyone in the system that follows along is absolutely following orders.
Yeah, it's just following orders. Yeah, it's the same thing as they're
cliche lines at this point. They are committing actual human rights.
Yeah, they're just abusing people.
Participating in a genocide, essentially. We are now.
Can you talk to them, DJ and Kyle?
Austin, yeah.
Hello.
Hi.
How's it going?
Hello. Doing well. How are you tonight?
I'm doing pretty good, actually. But yeah, what's up?
Cool. I just want to say that you have an incredible amount of patience, because I don't think anybody has the amount of patience that you have with the people that you speak with and people you're trying to get connect to.
All the D riders are. I'm just kidding. I was gonna say all the fans are calling. No, but yeah, I appreciate it. I'm just I'm from a really conservative area. I grew up as a very racist young white boy in a rural area. So I understand people where they come from. I understand the lies they're taught, and it really is that they're lied to from a very young age. For many of them, and many of them are just adults that are traumatized and they have PTSD and cognitive dissonance they physically cannot overcome. So I just want to give a good example for people who are watching, because my tactics when talking, I think, are the best for talking to people that I grew up around. And I feel like the media for the left is dominated by people that grew up in New York or Massachusetts or California. So they kind of give advice that doesn't really touch a lot of where America is.
Yeah, I will say I'm from California, so I
knew it.
Probably hit that. Hold on, but I did grow up in a very racist area, like you're saying. So I feel like there's parts of red and blue in California. So yeah, I grew up in a red area. I mean, if I listened to my parents, I'd be a racist MAGA head right now. But like you said, I did my own research. I thought for myself. I, took what I thought was useful, and again, I feel like that's where I'm at now. So I would agree with what you're saying a lot. The only thing I do want to add is there's a Roman saying, I don't know exactly the Latin for it, but it says that logic does not persuade people, emotion does. And I think that's exactly what's happening. Is like the guy was saying, you could have all the evidence, you could have everything to support what you're saying, and it still doesn't matter for whoever the demographic is. I think that's kind of what we're against.
It's like selling something. I think that's why Trump is good at exploiting people's fears. It's really coward way of talking to people. But I think having conversations that are like finding out where someone's coming from, and if you do use logic and facts, use it as an emotional tool where it's like, I want you to understand these things because you should have personal responsibility and understand this, because if you can look into this. And one example I bring up a lot is like I know so many people who talk about sports. They know every single pass of Tom Brady's entire career, and they can cite every single game. It's like he threw this ball. Gronk was doing a flare route and he threw it too high, but Gronk is so tall he's able to catch it, and that made Tom Brady hit 21,000 yards that season or whatever the number is, and they know the exact time on the clock and all these intricate details, and they understand penalties and fouls. in sports. They understand the nuance on if a ref debates what is a penalty, what isn't a penalty, what is a holding call. And sometimes, like, it's very analogous to law. You know, I mean, it's not one-to-one, but the critical thinking mechanisms they employ with sports is not what they employ with politics. But if we respect how they understand things and how they learn things and how they interpret the world, then we could craft our message in a way that hits their brain in areas that can help a lot more, a lot more effectively depending on who the person is.
Yeah. I know, I mean, just speaking from experience, I wouldn't say both my parents, but my entire family, uncles, aunts, everybody is red. And so I wouldn't say red, but MAGA red, because I don't want to say all Republicans are bad at this point. It's a certain percentage. But it is extremely difficult to even be in the room with them because they can't help themselves, I feel like. Whereas I feel like maybe a little bit more conscientious and educated person would understand that, hey, I'm not going to get somewhere today with talking with these people what they know. The long story short is I just think Democrats and Republicans, one is a little bit more informed and knows not to waste their time, and the Republicans are just, again, MAGA, I would hate to say Republicans, but the red MAGA are just so uninformed and misinformed that they don't even know what's right from wrong, left from right, and I feel like they've confused themselves at this point.
I think if you look at the way that different political sides practice Christianity, I think it's a good test for how they approach other things. So more liberal followers of Christianity will say, for example, God gave us the tools to reason and gave us the tools to be empathetic because he wanted us to care for the earth and all human beings, and Jesus taught us to accept the refugee. And like Palm Sunday just happened. The whole point of Palm Sunday is Jesus was going against the militarized police force or the military, and they brought palms and they had faith and hope and empathy and love to fight the military. And that's explicitly liberal, and that's very powerful in the Bible. Then conservatives believe in the more Old Testament version of the Bible, where it's like God is the king. You need to bow down to God. God will kill you and punish you directly. He will bring famine upon you. He will drown you and make you sacrifice your own kid to prove your loyalty to him. And the Crusades and the Holy Roman Empire and all this, the First, Second, Third Reich, this is all founded on these principles of the Old Testament God, where it's like, we're going to punish you. I think it's a common saying with like, where it's like, we're going to give you Old Testament punishment or whatever. But yeah, it just shows the difference in how they think about the world, where it's like we either have the ability to think and to care for each other, or we need to just like listen to what someone says. So liberal followers of Christianity engage with the text a lot more. They wrestle with the text more. And they'll look for why they believe things and what time period was this written in and what guidance can it give me, versus the more conservative version is more so just like, I follow king. Whatever they tell me to believe, I will believe it. And they are righteous, and whoever is the alpha among us is going to be the dominant one that can instruct us where the moral virtue should be.
Right. And I will say, back to your point, is like you said, it's the same religion, in quotes, but your upbringing allows you to understand it differently. Now, I'm not religious. I'm agnostic, because I don't think any religion is higher than another. But like you said, there are liberal Christians who maybe read the text and understand it a little bit differently, and then the Republic, the red, bleeding red, are maybe a little bit more exactly, follow God or he will kill you kind of thing. And I think it's their upbringing that gives them to interpret the same words differently.
Yeah, for sure. I hope the humanity. And by the way, for anyone listening, there's a cool Kendrick Lamar song which is pretty controversial because he says the F slur in it. But Anti-Diaries by Kendrick Lamar. He kind of goes through him growing up with a trans aunt/uncle. I think he says first I forget which one transitioned to the other, but he had two family members who were trans, and the person that actually taught Kendrick Lamar how to rap was trans. And he goes through calling them the right pronoun, the wrong pronoun, different pronouns, whatever. And at the end, I guess his cousin was getting demeaned in the church, and was saying that his cousin is an abomination to humanity and to the earth and evil because of being trans. And at the end, Kendrick Lamar essentially says, the day I chose humanity over religion. So I hope people have a moment like that where they see real humans being affected and they make a choice to choose humanity and choose what's right. And there's no reason they can't believe in their faith and still treat other people correctly. Because, I mean, Jesus said a lot of what, you know, Jesus said a lot. I mean, some of the best people that care for immigrants are Christian and whatever. But I'm just hoping people wake up and just, I don't know. It's crazy.
Religion's a tool. I mean, you could use it for good, you could use it for bad, and you could use the same exact text to, you know, define what you want.
By the way, people watching this right now, why are you guys not calling to debate me? Like, I have 300 viewers on one stream, I have 22 on the other. Like, no one's calling into debate to the Google Voice number. Like the stream, drop it places. Give my channel to your family members. If you have MAGA family, I will talk to your family members as well. Okay, drop a like on the stream for the algorithm. Donate to Jolah Politics on Cash App, PayPal, or Venmo, you guys. And thank you so much, Rita, for $15 on Cash App. Thank you so much for the donation. I'll send you a reaction. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Thank you. With the heart hands emoji. Thank you, Rita. Rita is a common what is it called, recurring supporter of the channel. So thank you. But yeah, drop a like, call in if you have a disagreement, please. But yeah. What else? Is there another thing you wanted to say? How often do you watch my channel stuff?
I'd say about a couple times a week, maybe. I don't know how many times you're on or when you're on. I just
hell yeah.
Maybe 2 or 3 times, depending on what's going on in the week. But again, it's very. I feel like I struggle listening to you because you deal with these, not with to you, but I mean the people you speak with. That's more what I'm trying to speak to. Is you speak to some people who I don't even think they want to talk to you. They just want to say like, you know, fuck you and hang up. And it's like it's not a conversation. It's just them being in middle school. And I think that's the hardest part is you can't really speak with or to these MAGA people without them being offended viscerally and having some form of emotion come up. And you can't just speak to.
They do get offended, like, don't they?
Well, I mean, let's just talk about, like, you can talk about tariffs and percentages, and I can talk about, you know, all these different numbers and facts and present live. But they're like, oh, but what about Hillary? She did the emails, and I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, it's just not even close.
Yeah, well, Hunter Biden did tariffs, didn't he? If Hunter Biden did tariffs, why can't Trump?
Right, or they say like, oh, the Biden administration left us this, and they keep saying stuff like that, and it's like, do they not understand Obama had us in the best place that this country has seen in a very long time, and it directly was ruined after Trump took over? I mean, I know I don't have to tell you, but I just feel like people don't understand how quickly the world has changed just through administration.
Yeah.
Our world. I wouldn't say the world.
Nuance is not real. So nuance is not real. And the theory of politics that you need to subscribe to is essentially that if you have a view that you consider to be moral, then it's your duty to be successful in politics. So, I mean, getting political power matters, and then you could make the world better through that. You're not going to convince too many people more than just like, you know, what should we care about? What are the virtues? What are the heuristics we should use to view the world? And that kind of stuff. We could try to lead people in the directionally correct direction like J.D. Vance did. And hope they, you know, follow along the right lines with the other issues and give you enough power and trust you to bring good change. But that's always been a thing. But yeah, thank you for calling in. I'm gonna take this one hopefully angry person.
Yeah, no problem. I just want to say one thing is I feel like if
sure.
we had a better form of education in the United States, that this would slowly be weeded out. I feel like since Trump is attacking our education system and how much funding they have, that is what's keeping these people in line. Is if they know if they have stupid, ignorant people, they will vote for them. But if they have educated children who grow up to, you know, think for themselves and to critically think, it might not be that way in 20 years. So I just want to say that, and that our education system is failing us, but it's success for the Republican Party.
Yeah, I will say that Utah is one of the few states that went blue throughout the entire state, and it's actually very correlated with education levels because Utah does very well with education. So you're not, you're not completely off there. But yeah, look at those numbers. It's really interesting.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you speaking with me. Thanks for taking the time.
Yeah, thank you. Have a good one, man. Thank you for watching.
You too. Take care.
Yeah. See you later, alligator. You want a wild crocodile? Wow. Woke up. Looking for the broccoli high key. That's not the song. That's not the same song, huh? Should I take a chance restarting my stream and taking more phone calls? I don't know. Thank you all for liking and subscribing and donating and everything. I'm gonna restart my YouTube Shorts stream to see if I get a boost. Thank you so much, Sri, for $5 on Venmo. I just saw this with a salute and an American flag. Thank you so much, Sri, for $5 on Venmo. Thank you, brother. Should I restart it? I really don't know. Woke up looking for the broccoli. Lock Trump up. Cuck. What? Why do you call me that? Why are you so mean to me? Thank you for Cash App. Hi, what's up?
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing all right. How about you?
I'm doing good. I just wanted to ask you, so what's your outlook on DEI? Could you just tell me your argument for that?
So, when people complain about DEI, they're usually complaining about quotas or affirmative action. So DEI itself, if you look at DEI policies, race-based DEI is like less than 20% of all total DEI. Most of DEI is based on class. So, for example, I'm from a poor rural area. I had a bad upbringing, so I had a chance to have lower SAT scores, but get into a college. I'm still more capable than those students I went to school with, but there's other factors that led to me having lower scores, and I think DEI was able to help people like me, and I'm not a racial minority. I was just a class minority, I guess you could say, or underprivileged class-wise. DEI involves veterans, and it involves, not judging based on sex or gender or race or religion. So DEI can include a whole, a vast coverage of things. But it seems that people only talk about DEI in the context of race, and I think that's a very political thing, obviously. And I think their anger towards DEI is either, one, just like an insecurity about, I don't know, white guys not feeling like the country's geared towards them, or it's also just like a misunderstanding of like which policies are like quotas and which policies are like DEI, I guess.
Okay. So yeah, so you agree that like, you shouldn't value someone because they're white or because they're black and or Asian or something like that?
No, I think people do from all cultures, but we try to move away from that as much as possible. But yeah, I don't think you should like go looking for quotas. I guess the main thing would be like for DEI, if the government has DEI as a policy, it would just say if you hire for a job, you have to give the application equally to all communities. So you can't just like avoid giving applications to black communities. And if like no black people have a job there, it's like, well, maybe you should look into like why there's no black people here if the population is like 20% black in the area. Maybe there's a reason, maybe there's not. So it could be a whole range of things.
Yeah, okay. So do you agree in like, you hire someone usually because they have like they're gonna fit your job the best, like they're gonna do the best at their job, right? Like that's why you would hire someone.
I would say in a perfect world, yes. In my experience, and I mean maybe you would agree or disagree, but most people that I know who have really nice jobs, I mean even people that deserve it are usually because they know someone, they have legacy admissions to a college, or they know someone that has a business, or they know someone that's friends with the family that can get them a job. I'd say ideally you'd pick someone who is good for the position, but I also say that DEI probably, or I would say DEI gives like, it does not get in the way of doing that at all, I would say.
Okay. Is it right if I ask you another question?
Yeah, for sure. Keep going.
Okay, so what do you think? What is your opinion on the tariffs that Trump has in place?
If someone thinks that trade is messed up in any way, then we can negotiate deals with countries without, like tariffs right now are the biggest tax increase done by a U.S. president with his own choosing through executive order. I'm pretty sure in American history. It's the biggest tax increase on the American people since the 1950s in general. And if there is a problem we need to fix, I don't want working people to pay for that. I think the people that benefit from the trade deals and benefit from the economic model should finance our way out of the problem if there is a problem. But the tariffs, as they're being done right now, it taxes people, it hurts small businesses, it hurts a lot of people that don't need to be hurt, and they don't really accomplish the goals that I don't even know what the main goal is, because they've said 50 different million reasons for doing the tariffs, but I can't find any economist, a conservative or a liberal, that says the tariffs are a good idea. And I could go more into that if you have any questions about any of those pieces.
Yeah. So I think the main goal of the tariffs is what I've heard a lot of people say is that it's going to bring production back to the U.S. because, like, I don't know if you heard, but some big car producing company was going to build this huge car manufacturing plant in Mexico and just kind of hire cheap labor and then sell the cars in the U.S. And then decided not to do that when Trump got elected because he was going to put tariffs on Mexico. They wouldn't be able to really sell the cars. So I think the goal is in the future just bringing like the manufacturers back to the United States so that we have United States, workers employed.
So I would be careful if a politician claims like victory on something like that. I mean, without waiting and seeing more information, just because the typical auto supply chain for a car hits like 7 to 10 different stops. So the way the USMCA worked, which is the trade deal Trump built off of NAFTA with, that he kind of abandoned because he says it sucks now and he's tariffing Mexico and Canada. I'm pretty sure USMCA stuff is exempted. I think it's exempt, which would also exempt car manufacturers. But still, for a supply chain like that, it would, like, for example, have 7 different stops. And one stop can be in Canada, then it can be sent to Mexico, then another part of Mexico, then another part in Canada, and then it could be sent to the U.S. for the final 3 stops. So, like, Mexico would be more base level manufacturing, and then Canada would be a little bit more skilled and maybe specialized in different areas. And then it would be sent to America for the finishing project. So there's no factory that's just like, this is the car factory. We're making cars at one factory. Typically, it's a big supply chain with like 7 to 9 to 10, whatever, different stops. And Trump seems to want the entire supply chain to be in America, which is completely impossible. And these investments, if you move like a factory, it's like 3 to 5 years to get a factory operational. It's like another few years to get an entire supply chain moved. So these are 5 to 10 year investments for companies. And if a company's making a 10-year investment, I don't mean to go with too many different topics here, but a 10-year investment for a company, if the president has the ability to turn tariffs on and off, they're going to be too scared and probably just take their money out of the economy because they don't want to invest in a climate that could change by the day, depending on the president's emotions that day. And that's why you want Congress to have, and that's one of the reasons you want Congress to have the power to set economic policy and taxation, because then it's legislation. It's done through a long process. It's fundamental. It's written in law. It's not something the president can just change on a whim.
Okay. And then one final kind of just separate issue. So just for some background, so I'm a Christian, and I mean this in all, in the kindest way. I know there's a lot of supposedly Christians out there that'll kind of say this in the wrong way, and they use a lot of hate and stuff. I don't think that a person can actually be trans. So I don't think like a biological woman can become a male. That's just my view on it. I think the Bible kind of says the same thing. Could you just tell me like your view, and do you think that a biological woman can become a man, and why do you think that if you do think that?
From like a Christian perspective, if you say like God made humans a certain way, I would question why it's natural for people to be born intersex. It's a relatively common thing. Also, you can have the chromosomes of a female, and you could have the expressed features of your body be male. So you could have like XX or XY chromosomes and just completely be the opposite gender from birth. You could have the opposite parts. So knowing that's the thing people go through, and knowing with trans studies, doing brain scans, not only can you have like body parts that are going to be different from what is going to be typically expected of you based on your sex, if you're male or female, when you're born. It's like if there's all these imperfections and all these mixes of genetics and expressed phenotype or whatever at birth, then I'm like, okay, why did God design birth to be so complicated? And why is every person, like, we are technically, before we go through the chemical processes, men and women, or males and females, are born the exact same way in the womb until the chemicals interact and they express different body parts and everything like that. So I keep on asking questions about, and I mean, I came from a perspective where I was much more conservative when I was younger, and much more ingrained in a more conservative form of Christianity. And I guess I just have questions about all the differences we see, in the world. And like, I think people can be gay, for example. I don't think it's a choice. So just knowing that about biological sex, I think there's like 35 different biological sexes scientifically. It's something crazy. I don't usually bring that up, but if you're asking like why I think someone can like be a sex like male and say like I think that my brain is like more female and I'd rather identify as this. You don't need to say this person is transforming or becoming this. And I know people will say that because it affirms gender and like it makes them feel more comfortable in their skin. But you don't need to say they literally transformed. But it is someone who was born a certain way and now they identify a different way and they're better off because of it. And we have science with like a condition called like gender dysphoria, where we could see someone's brain being more, I guess, fragmented and chaotic and depressed and anxious. Let's say you're born male and you stay male, but you think you're trans. That person transitioning, I think in like 99% of cases, it's a really high rate in the studies, has a better quality of life. So it's just like there's so many things in the world that don't align perfectly into separate categories. So I'm not saying that we need to go through because there's some people who don't think like pronouns exist. They don't even think he, she, or they goes with it. They think they can make up whatever they want on a daily basis. I'm definitely not like that, but I do see some room for things to be complicated, and I'm okay with that. And I just want to make sure I treat people with respect and make sure we all have civil rights.
Okay, thanks. Thanks for letting me call in, and I hope you have a good rest of your night.
All right, thank you. I hope to see you around. I'll call in again sometime. Thank you, man. Have a good night.
Yep.
Birth defects are proof of nothing. That is true. It's like, why did God make my family member get cancer and die? Like, why did he do that? Like, I don't think that was by design. Was it by design? Did God design that? Why did God do that? He seemed, I'm happy. I like calls like that. I like when people are calling just to hear me out. I appreciate that call. Thank you. And thank you so much. I don't know if you want me to say your name, but initials JL, saying thank you. Thank you for your hard work. Thank you so much for $10 in Cash App. Thank you so much for your support. But yeah, if you want to support the channel, Jolah Politics on Venmo, Cash App, or PayPal, as you can see on the screen, is one of the best ways to do it. Best ways. You can leave me a little comment saying hi, what's up, saying good job, whatever you want to say to make me smile. You can donate through the coffee link as well. The coffee link it's on the screen. You could use credit cards or whatever you want on there. If you donate through coffee, it says your message out loud. You can type your message, it says it out loud. Okay. If you want to hear your message said out loud, it's text to speech. That's a good way to donate as well. Become a channel member for $3 a month. $3 a month. Be a channel member. Get your color being green in chat and all that stuff. But yeah, thank you for the stream tonight. It started off really slow. But we did pick up, so thank you guys. Really appreciate it. I appreciate everyone helping out, mods, Discord people calling in, everyone calling in. Thank you for all contributing, helping tonight be a good stream. Thank you guys. Thank you.
You have reached the voicemail box.
Whoa. Okay, you can call back in, the guy that just called. Should I reset my stream for one time, see if I can get, I don't know. It's impossible to rebuild manufacturing in a short amount of time. Well, yeah, it is physically impossible to build entire supply chains and whatever. Also, when the policy is not doing that, it also makes it hard, Call again. I had to reset my page. Sorry, I had to refresh my Google Voice. It should work now. Even if, let's say Trump had a subsidy today, if you build a plant in America, you get $5 billion to invest in that plant. Even that would take time. Like, even if we had unlimited money and resources, it would take time to build the thing. Like,
call from
even in the perfect utopian world. Howdy, what's up?
Hi, Jolah?
Yep, you're on the stream. What's up, man?
Oh, fantastic. Yeah, I just wanted to call in. I disagree a little bit with some of your framing here.
Okay.
You say Trump is bad. I think that's really, really understating things, man. But I appreciate your stuff.
Okay.
I've seen you a couple times fighting a good fight. I won't take up too much of your time because I see that what you're trying to do. Yeah, he's more than bad. He's probably might be the worst thing that's ever happened to this country. But I appreciate you for doing the good work that you're doing, man.
Yeah, I appreciate the call. But yeah, I mean, I don't have any people calling right now. If you're watching, guys, you want to debate, call into the show, guys. Call in. But yeah, openly, I kind of predicted this, but openly being anti-Ukraine, like we are compromised by Russia and Israel and China. We are compromised by those three countries completely. And there's the Doge whistleblowers now who said that the Starlink was transmitting data from our government right to Russia. So like we are literally being. Someone made the analogy where it's like the Third World War is being fought right now. But it was fought without a single bullet fired, and we are being destroyed from the inside out from all of our enemies, and Americans don't even realize it.
Absolutely. And the whole Russian thing, I feel like after Russiagate was just blown up out of proportion in a lot of ways, people were treating Trump like a Russian agent, and it was this whole like fantastical thing, and it ended up kind of destroying any kind of criticism of Russia's like very real operations.
Yeah.
And he's not an agent, but he's very clearly like an asset. The stuff that he does is an asset to them. But if you mention anything about Trump's policy being pro-Russia, oh yeah, it's Russia this and all that. And you point out that, oh wait, why didn't he tariff Russia? Oh well, because you're just a dumb libtard. Stop talking about Russia. What are you, Rachel Maddow in 2017? You know, and it's really frustrating. Russia, like they won big. They really won big with like you said.
It's so easy too. Like you just gotta say woke on Joe Rogan and they think you're a genius. It's so sad. Like it's genuinely a travesty. I mean, we could have had Bernie Sanders to be honest, but it's whatever.
I know. We could have had a bad bitch.
I'm mad. I get mad about that every time because I do remember very clearly Democrats calling him a sexist and racist, and Elizabeth Warren helping fuel that narrative. And now like Bernie is literally picking the successor to his movement to be a woman of color who's from the working class, and it's just like I feel like the same people who called Bernie Sanders a sexist and racist are gonna be the same people to say AOC cannot win because she's a woman and not white. Like I feel like the same people that called Bernie sexist, they're gonna use that to deny AOC a chance to even be heard as a candidate. I feel like those same people will, but I feel like them doing this tour across America, she does need to get her speaking down a little bit better. She's been doing this like preachy voice that I don't think fits her. She sounds really good when she's natural. I understand projecting in a huge crowd is like really hard, and obviously I can't really comment on that. But judging from other politicians, as a woman, it makes it 20 times harder to speak in huge crowds like that with your voice and projecting it in a strong way. But she does it well sometimes when she really feels it, and she just like goes off script a little bit. Her voice sounds great, but she does like the "America is falling." It's just that voice is like very I just don't like that kind of voice. But she's gonna get a swing of it. She's gonna get a hang of it. She has all the intangibles. And like I don't know. It's just really interesting to see people change their opinions so quickly on everything.
Yeah, and that's something that Trump's really highlighted is the American public and politics and everything. It's really evolved beyond this old school politician-y, like this. It kind of like peaked with Barack Obama, like that kind of rhetoric of being very presidential and stoic, and that all these sound bites like that, and now it's just people want the real stuff, and for better or for worse, I think that's where we're at. But listen, Jolah, again, I appreciate the work you're doing. I do want your stream to remain doing what you're doing, talking with people who disagree, because I think those conversations need to be had. I just wanted to tell you that I appreciate what you're doing.
Yeah, thank you for the call, man. Thank you. Have a good night. Thank you for watching.
All right, have a good night. Bye.
Yeah. I'm conflicted. Do I want to start a new stream? Should I start a second YouTube short stream and see if I can run 2 streams at once on YouTube Shorts? Should I make 50 YouTube short streams and just keep on 50 YouTube shorts? Let me make another one. I'm going to make a second YouTube shorts stream. Maybe I'll just reset it, bro. 177 likes. Thank you so much. Thank you. Good call. Thank you. If I reset my YouTube shorts stream and open up a new one, can you guys go to the new one and like it so we can get more people calling in? because I want to reset the algorithm and see if it works. It might not work. I might have to go to bed. But if I reset my YouTube Shorts and make a new one to see if I can get the algorithm going again, will you guys go there? Will you guys join me there and like it? What do you think? If I make a new YouTube short stream, just go to bed. Eat my, dude. I had peanut butter eggs, bro. I had peanut butter eggs. Peanut butter eggs were real good. Okay, I'm gonna make a new YouTube Shorts. I'll be right back. Thank you guys for all the donations. Thank you so much. Right back. I'm gonna start it up right away. It might not work, but we'll see. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.